I'm Kathleen, 36. Standing in the bustling kitchen of my father's 62nd birthday party, I was seething with humiliation. Just moments ago, my stepmother, Vanessa, had directed me to enter through the back door, like some uninvited guest. I looked down at my designer heels, now caked with dirt from the gravel path, and the anger inside me flared. As I tried to compose myself in the narrow pantry, a familiar voice cut through the chaos. Kathleen Reed, CEO of Reed Tech Innovations, what on earth are you doing back here? I looked up, and there was Mrs. Harper, the esteemed owner of Harper Enterprises, a titan in our small, town business community. In that moment, I was transported back in time. I grew up in a small town called Millfield, with a population of just over 12,000. It was a place where everyone knew each other, and life seemed simple and idyllic. My childhood home was a cozy cottage on Pine Street, with a large front porch where my parents and I would sit on summer evenings. My mom was a kind-hearted nurse at the local hospital. She was always there for her patients and our family. My dad ran a small auto repair shop, and he was well respected in the community. They met in college and were inseparable ever since. Their wedding photo hung in our living room, a constant reminder of their love. Mom taught me the importance of empathy and kindness. She would read me bedtime stories and help me with my homework. Dad, on the other hand, taught me practical skills. He showed me how to change a tire, fix a leaky faucet, and the satisfaction of creating something with my own hands. But when I was 13, everything changed. Mom was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. Our lives became a blur of hospital visits, chemotherapy sessions, and the slow decline of the woman who held our family together. She passed away on a cold winter morning. I remember that day clearly because I had a big science project due. Dad told me to go to school, saying Mom would want me to keep going. After Mom's death, Dad and I were lost. He threw himself into work, taking on more clients than he could handle. I buried myself in books and schoolwork, trying to escape the pain. Our family was in pieces until Vanessa entered our lives. Vanessa had lost her husband in a car accident 5 years earlier and had 2 children, Ethan, who was 16 at the time, and Lily, who was my age. They met at a support group for grieving families. The first time Dad invited them over for dinner, I was hopeful. I thought having siblings, even step-siblings, would fill the void in my heart. Vanessa arrived with a homemade apple pie and a warm smile. She complimented our home and made suggestions for improvements. Ethan was quiet, more interested in his video games, while Lily and I bonded over our love for art. Vanessa was attentive to me at first, bringing me small gifts like art supplies and jewelry. Dad seemed happier, and the weight on his shoulders seemed to lift. They got married 6 months later, and we moved into Vanessa's larger house on Elm Street. But the harmony I hoped for quickly faded. During the bedroom assignments, Ethan and Lily kept their spacious rooms, while I was given a small attic room with a slanted ceiling. When I complained, Vanessa said Ethan and Lily needed stability after losing their father, and that we all had to make sacrifices for the family. Dad just nodded, avoiding my eyes. Over the years, other changes piled up. Family photos of Mom disappeared from the common areas, replaced with pictures of Vanessa's family. Holiday traditions changed to suit their preferences. At dinner, Ethan and Lily always got special treatment. They got bigger portions of dessert, more attention for their achievements, and more opportunities to participate in family activities. As I got older, I noticed Dad becoming more distant. Before Vanessa, we used to spend weekends working on cars in the garage or going fishing at the local lake. But now, his weekends were filled with Ethan's soccer games and Vanessa's social events. When I got straight A's or won an art competition, Dad would give me a quick pat on the back and then rush off to Lily's dance recital. By the time I was 18, I realized that Vanessa wasn't inherently evil. She was just looking out for her own children. But that realization didn't make the pain any less. I focused on my studies and got a scholarship to a prestigious art and technology college in the city. Leaving Millfield was the first time I felt truly free. I was surrounded by people who valued my creativity and intelligence. I studied graphic design and artificial intelligence, combining my two passions. I worked part-time jobs to make ends meet, but I thrived in that environment. After graduation, I turned down offers from big design firms to start my own company, Reed Tech Innovations. It was a risky move, but I was determined to make a mark. In the early days, I faced a lot of challenges. People doubted my abilities because I was a young woman in a male-dominated field. But I persevered. I identified a gap in the market for user-friendly design software for small businesses. I spent months coding and designing a prototype. When I launched it, it was an instant success. Our company grew rapidly, and we now have offices in 2 major cities and over 150 employees. Despite my success, my relationship with Dad and Vanessa continued to deteriorate. Our conversations became shorter and more superficial. Vanessa always referred to my work as Kathleen's little city job, downplaying my achievements. When Dad's 62nd birthday invitation arrived, I hesitated. 5 years had passed since my last extended visit home. But he was still my father, and I wanted to believe that we could fix our relationship. I drove back to Millfield, and as I passed the familiar landmarks, the old diner where we used to have Sunday breakfasts, the park where I used to play as a child, I felt a mix of nostalgia and trepidation. When I arrived at the house, Dad greeted me with a hug. He looked older, his hair completely gray, and his shoulders stooped. But his smile was still warm. Vanessa, however, greeted me with a back-handed compliment, saying how busy I must be and how she was surprised I could make it. The house had been renovated since my last visit. The cozy, homey feel was replaced with a more modern, sterile look. Family photos on the walls were mostly of Ethan's wedding and Lily's new baby. My college graduation photo was nowhere to be seen. Vanessa showed me to my room, a small guest room at the end of the hallway. She made comments about how they weren't sure what I'd like to eat these days, assuming I'd developed a taste for fancy city food. Dinner was a painful experience. Ethan boasted about his new business venture, and Lily talked about her baby. When the conversation turned to me, Vanessa asked in a condescending tone how my little startup was going. Before I could answer, Lily jumped in, saying she'd heard that many startups fail. After dinner, I tried to talk to Dad alone, but he was constantly surrounded by family or on the phone with party vendors. When I finally managed to corner him in his study, Vanessa appeared within minutes, saying there were urgent arrangements to be made. The next day, on the morning of Dad's birthday, I woke up early, hoping to have a quiet moment with him. But Vanessa was in the kitchen, directing the caterers. She told me Dad had gone out with Ethan for last-minute errands and that I should stay out of the way as the professionals knew what they were doing. I spent the morning driving around Millfield, visiting old haunts. I stopped at a local art studio where I used to take classes. The owner recognized me and complimented me on my success. She said my mom would be so proud of me, and that simple statement brought tears to my eyes. As the party began, I was looking forward to joining the guests and celebrating Dad's birthday. But then, Vanessa came up to me and said the front entrance was getting crowded and I should use the back door. I was shocked and hurt, but I didn't want to cause a scene. So, I made my way around the house, my heels sinking into the gravel. When I entered through the back door, I was met with confused looks from the kitchen staff. I felt like an outsider in my own family's party. Just as I was about to leave, Mrs. Harper's words cut through the air. Mrs. Harper went on to praise my work. She said our design software had revolutionized the way her company approached marketing. She introduced me to other business leaders at the party, and suddenly, I was no longer the invisible stepdaughter. I was Kathleen Reed, the successful CEO of Reed Tech Innovations. Vanessa's face turned pale as she watched me being celebrated. Dad looked on, a mix of confusion and pride on his face. For the first time in years, I felt seen and valued in my own family. As the evening wore on, I noticed subtle changes in the family dynamic. Ethan started asking me questions about my business, and Lily complimented my art. Dad made an effort to spend more time with me, and Vanessa's attempts to downplay my achievements became less frequent. After the party, when everyone had gone home, Dad and I sat in the living room. He apologized for not being there for me all these years. He said he was afraid of losing Vanessa and her family, and he thought he was doing the right thing by keeping the peace. Vanessa also joined us. She admitted that she had been insecure about my relationship with Dad and had tried to push me away. She said she was sorry for the pain she had caused me. It wasn't an instant fix, but it was a start. In the following months, Dad started visiting me in the city. He got to know my team and saw the scope of my work. Vanessa also made an effort to be more inclusive. Ethan decided to start his own business, inspired by my determination, and Lily began to explore her artistic side more seriously. A year later, I hosted Dad's 63rd birthday party at my apartment in the city. It was a small gathering, but filled with love and genuine connection. We were finally on the path to healing, and I realized that sometimes it takes a moment of recognition to break down the walls that have been built over the years.